At a different mouthful of backwash Gatorade. Olly put his helmet back on, and somehow, some fucking how, his brain went offline and his body went. The slick of the ice and the cross of his skates, burning in his hamstrings and quads and lungs, leaning into the pain like it was going to fucking fix something. He made it through the endurance test with one of the top times. Olly staggered through the gate, managing not to flinch away from the backslaps and the attaboys, kept his head down while the rest of the guys finished up. Didn't laugh along with everybody else when one of the rookie D-men tripped on a cone and went sprawling across the ice. Once the refrigerator-sized rookie had managed to stop laughing and get through his test without losing an edge, DeWitt, Dewey, everybody called him, cornered Olly in the locker room for more captainly outreach. "Good day," he said, punching him in the shoulder. It hadn't been. Olly knew that. He pulled an Eagles-branded T-shirt over his head, temporarily blocking out Dewey's square jaw and salt and pepper stubble. "Thanks. I wanted to welcome you to D.C. Check in. Make sure you're settling in okay." There was no point to settling in until Olly saw his name on the final roster. Instead of saying that, he said, "Yeah." "We've got an apartment for you," he continued, "with one of the rookies from the D-League. We like to make sure our new guys have a support system, and Benji's a good guy, even if his edge work leaves a lot to be desired." Olly swallowed convulsively. He couldn't stand to wonder what DeWitt might have heard about Olly's last roommate, what he might be thinking behind the professional Canadian politeness. "I'll text you his number. Go tonight." "Okay," Olly said, a little too late. He didn't understand why they were pushing him to get into an apartment now, before the final roster had been announced. Naha players didn't get housing until they were a sure thing. Olly was anything but that. Instead, he felt tenuous, exhausted. More than he should be, even after camp and the drive down from Minnesota. He'd done the whole thing in one stretch, since he wouldn't have slept if he'd stopped halfway. He hadn't slept last night either, listening to the hum of the AC unit in the Arlington hotel where they put all the new guys. Except his future roommate, anyway. He'd hoped that camp would tire him out enough that maybe he could sleep, like he hadn't all summer. Feeling the tension radiating out from his stomach, Olly doubted it.
Benji Bryzinski was just a dumbass from Duncannon, Pennsylvania, but he had arrived. That was what he told himself after the first day of training camp, leaning on the railing of his Washington condo's balcony and looking out at where the river was bracketed by the blue glass towers of office buildings. Well, he wasn't quite in D.C., but Rosslyn, Virginia was more convenient to the practice rink, where he would be spending a lot of fucking time over the next 3 years of his contract. Jesus Christ, the goddamned Naha! Everything he'd been working for since he was 7 years old. He grinned, the excitement bottle-popping through his body. Camp was hard, of course it was, but he was honoring all those hard years of work, all those hours in the gym, that little kid he'd been, suited up in second-hand gear and taking his first wobbling strides across the ice. And he was making the roster, after 2 years with the Eagles' Major Developmental League team in Hershey. His housing letter and his signature on the lease of this nice fucking apartment said so. It was unusual to get housing before camp, even if the head coach had told him, "You'll be back for good next October," after his most recent stint covering for a defenseman out on injured reserve. His phone buzzed in the pocket of his basketball shorts. He fumbled it out, managed to drop it on the cement with an ominous crack. Fuck! Even if breaking his phone wouldn't be so bad now. He had enough money to buy a new one without even thinking about the balance in his bank account. His older sister Krista's face lit up his unbroken lock screen. "Crate and Barrel has 3 couches that I think will work. Do you want to try them out, or should I..."